Hi everyone, it is September 27th, 2025. And as promised, if I was still here, I'd be making another video, and of course I would. I needed time to process, to observe what was going on, to connect within and above before providing what I'm going to share with you. But please know, I am still on the ark waiting. Before I address the fact that 923 and 924 went by without the event that we expected, and before I share the amazing jaw-dropping signs that I've had during that time, and before I share my feelings and perceptions, I want to say this emphatically so. My faith is relentless, unstoppable, and even stronger than ever, if that's possible. This isn't hopium, this isn't dangling the carrot, pushing the goalpost. This is a call to faith and trust in God now, despite what happened. Just hear me out. As I stated before on, in a couple videos, but especially the It's Time to Get on the Ark video, to please, please, please connect with God yourself, get the confirmations, discern before listening to me or anyone else. It is so important for all of us to do that. Discernment is everything now. And also, as I stated in that video, that the rapture could happen, in 5 seconds, or it could happen after, the day after. Many of us were being led to the 923 time prompt or numbers or whatever, telling us something was going to happen on 923 or 924, but 923 was the more common one. And as I said, for many months I saw that. I didn't know what it was about. And it reminds me of 9/11, when I unfortunately kept seeing these ominous signs that something was going to happen on 9/11. Again, I didn't know what it was. I just knew that something was going to happen because the synchronicities were outrageous. Like, here's what I wrote, and I can see clearly now. So I woke up the morning of 9/11, and the room was spinning. I didn't even get up at all. I was lying down, the room spinning, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's 9/11, and then we learned what happened. So you guys, I take this very seriously. When I see signs like this, and it's repetitive, and it's all this energy behind it, and then learning from others. I mean, I kept saying 923 before I heard about all these other incredible testimonials, and and everything just came together. And then Brother Joshua appeared on the scene, I think in June, but he had experienced visitation from Christ in 2018, where Christ said right in front of him, he could see him, that the rapture was going to happen on 9/23, 9/24. And, I still believe Brother Joshua. I believe it was a genuine experience. But it may have been the icing of the cake, but of a really large cake with people all around the world sharing similar messages. So how could we get it all wrong, okay, when we all were getting the same information, basically? we have to be very real about this. We know that the darkness can infiltrate our thoughts, dreams, visions, memories, and even signs. Was it that? Affecting all of us around the world? I don't think so. I am sure that is not the case. Of course, it's always happening, but in all of us, and we all got it wrong, just bear with me. God, just remember that God promised that He'd pour out His Spirit to young and old, and He did so in the most remarkable way. So, because the Feast of Trumpets, September 23rd and 24th, didn't line up, okay? There's a theory about this, and I will share this at the end. I debated sharing it, but I'm going to share it at the end. When I started to feel that this wasn't going to happen, my very first thought was, what if God is using this to wake up more of us to the rapture? I mean, so many people don't even know about the rapture, or they're too distracted to be connected to God right now. What if this was all to get more people on the ark? And just as predicted, the dark had its heyday, okay? Remember in my 2 signs video, that second sign about the influence? They're going to be messing with it. And the enemy got exactly what it wanted. Here we were so excited and faithful and anticipating, and at the same time there were crazy numbers of people that were again being cruel and hurtful and saying awful things. Even before the 23rd passed, they were already saying Brother Joshua's wrong, or this person's wrong, that channel's wrong. I mean, it was vicious. Honestly, it was absolutely vicious in many cases. And it reminded me of that same division of what happened the day before 9/11 that has caused so much division, and it's for a purpose that would blow people away. Things are not what they seem, you guys. There were so many holes in that whole situation. It truly was So what happened? Some people lost faith, but there's many people just like me who are full of faith, that that are also unstoppable, that won't give up, that know that this is really going to happen with all our hearts and souls. Can we all be wrong? I don't think so. I don't think so. Again, ultimately, the darkness wants us to lose our faith in God, to not trust God, and for a very specific purpose. But back to the meek shall inherit the earth type people that were putting out all their testimonials and sharing, just bearing their soul, sharing their hearts, so excited about the messages they were getting, young and old, especially those that had a bigger audience, were ashamed, they were humiliated, they were beaten down. I just felt so deeply for these people who were more in the public eye. Again, not huge audiences, because that's often a red flag, as we know. Just really genuine people that were trying to get more people on the ark, and they were attacked viciously even before the 23rd ended. They just couldn't wait to shame and bully. Unbelievable. Do you think the darkness was working through them? The tragic thing too is that these people with you know, larger audiences, again, not large ones, but they were reaching more people, and thus they were attacked more, and they had more responsibility on their shoulders, putting their necks out there, right? And and they're making apology videos, and some of them even um, taking down their channels and all that beautiful, all those testimonies and all that material is gone now. It's erased, which is sad. It's so sad. But I understand where they're coming from, because these are really good, humble people, very genuine people that they don't want to mislead. None of us do. None of us do. I'm getting to this. But when you see apology video in the title or something, or they start saying that right off, that makes it sound like, throw it all out. That's what people are doing. They're throwing it all out. So luckily, there's a lot of us that are making new videos and sharing what I'm about to share. But I understand where they're coming from. I do. They're good people. They don't want to hurt others. I get it. They don't want to mislead. We're all like that. We don't want to mislead, but yet we're feeling the call to share what we have. So even though it looks like the enemy won, okay, God is winning. God wins in the end, and we win in the end. But I'm not apologizing for this. I has made very clear, I'm just sharing my experience. Please go to God yourself and get confirmation. But we're all being called to connect with others, to sound the alarm, to get on the ark, And I also said 23rd and 24th are the high watch days. We're feeling it, we're believing it's them, but it could be before or after. So I made those things clear. But let me just also say, look, I'm the sorry girl. Like, if you know me, and even from when I was a little girl, I was always saying sorry for everything. And it's ironic, because I'm in this position where, my nature is to say, oh, I'm so sorry, but no, I'm really not sorry. And and I never want to mislead, but I've been sharing information, especially since 2001, all these signs that have been leading up to today. And and they weren't meant to be quiet. I was blessed with that so that I could be a messenger among many of you as well. But it is funny coming from me, because I was a sorry girl, and my dad, he used to say when I was a kid, and even as an adult, he'd still tease me, but he'd say, let me see your dictionary. I'm going to take that word out of it. That's how ingrained sorry was. My ancestral history about the genocide, which I've shared before, is about not taking responsibility, to not own what was done. That it's been a theme in my whole life. But isn't that interesting that here, I'm not going to say I'm sorry, because I'm truly not, when I care so much for everyone, and I'm doing this because I care so much. I want the best for everyone. I want people to know about this escape, this chance to escape what is ahead. We are in the end times. Like it or not, it's the reality. We can face it, or we can get distracted and just wait until something happens, Okay, on to the signs, and then I'm going to get deeper into my theory, okay? So on the evening of September 22nd, the day before this was going to happen, I see this online. I then learned that 228 people were saved by lifeguards, rescued by lifeguards. On my lifeguard signs, the weekend before the 23rd, 24th, just a couple days before. 228 in one weekend. Now, if you recall the the deer sign I had, and then I shared how a deer was saved, and my being saved by 5 lifeguards. Okay. I shared how that deer was saved in the waters of Flagler Beach. And right after, soon after my video. And it was extraordinary because it's never happened before here. And these 2 lifeguards saved it, and I shared the link to the news report. In that news report, they mentioned that whole year, prior year, so in 2024, 241 people were rescued. 241. So in the whole year, of which I was one of them, okay? Versus 228 in one weekend. Right before we're going to be rescued, even though it's delayed, which I believe with my whole heart and soul. But the point is the symbolism of that. Unreal. So on September 23rd, here's the big day. I didn't go to the water. And before the high watch window time, I went to have my 1 meal a day, and I go take it to sit in front of the window, as I always do, and I take 1 bite of food, and what do I see but 3 wild turkeys. If you saw my amazing bird science video, you know how meaningful they are, how they're such auspicious signs. In the last couple years, wild turkeys and bluebirds of happiness, and Archangel Michael's behind this, absolutely, I share in the video, and other videos too. But that one kind of sums it up. So I was just amazed. On the 23rd, I haven't seen them for months, and in my backyard, and it's right on the 23rd. And when I'm looking out the window, so I always keep my cell phone far away, and I didn't want to scare them, so I had to get the cell phone and get a picture taken from my other back window. Then on the 24th, I was late to the sunrise. I go every morning, or try to. And of all sunrises to be late, but this worked out perfect because I see this guy that I met 5 weeks ago. And I haven't seen him since. Met him for the first time, haven't seen him since. It was one of those orchestrated meetings, again, where we just talk and talk and talk, and it's just like so divine. It's all for good reason, with messages for each other. So, all of a sudden I hear, "Mary, you missed the sunrise," and it's him. And he says, "I gotta show you the pictures, it was amazing." And he's excitedly showing me these pictures of the sunrise, and it was so striking. He wasn't kidding. It was like the sun was just starting to rise with the rays coming out, very distinct and very orangish red. Like, it looked surreal. It almost looked cartoonish. Like when we're kids and we draw the sun with the rays coming. That's what it looked like. I've never seen anything like it in the 4 years that I've been here. It was striking, okay? But here's what he says. He says, "Doesn't it look like heaven on earth?" Now, in my ARC video, remember I share about the heaven on earth sign right before receiving messages from Archangel Michael for the first time, November 15, 2001. By the way, his feast day is on Monday, September 29th, and oh my gosh, what is going on in the heavens, the war going on in the heavens, we have no idea about. Then the the other thing is, he said this dove was walking toward us, and he got so excited about it. He's like, he took video of it, and it was like, it was kind of just going right toward us and hanging out. And then I talked about the sign of the dove. That's a good sign. But see, the dove, Noah's Ark, peace, all these things, like heaven on earth. I mean, do you understand? Like, this was all coming together. And I had just written this guy from Australia who had all these dove signs. He said, I never see doves. I mean, I happen to see them all the time where I am. But my new friend here, he hadn't seen them. I mean, where he is, I don't know why I see him, but wherever, whatever. But this guy in Australia says, I'm seeing them all. And I said, that's really a positive sign. I am too. In fact, one hit the window, a big dove hit the window, and I looked at and it was fine, by the way. But I looked at the time, and it was 10:44, like 144. So after I got home, again, it's the 24th, I sit down for another meal. And as I'm carrying my plate to the chair, I thought, wouldn't it be incredible if the wild turkeys arrive again? Third bite in, you guys. Here comes those little beaks and heads and long necks. There were 2 of them. And again, my camera's far away, right? And then very soon after, 3. So 2, 3, which is interesting. 2, 3, 23. Then I got a picture. Here's the other. I only got 3 of the 5, but there were 5 of them in total. I forgot to say that on the 23rd, the first time they came, the 3 of them, this one turkey was like totally checking me out, looking at me, cocking its head like a puppy dog, I mean, it was hilarious. But anyways, then came the bluebirds. Again, haven't seen them. Just that one time when I was editing a video and it was almost confirming what I was saying in the video. I haven't seen them other than that for some time. And it was right after the wild turkeys. Again, both signs from Archangel Michael, winks to me. And then on the 25th, we were still in that window of certain time zones, still on the 24th, and I see this. And remember, in my ARC video as well, I share about hearing the spiritual bells, the bells. So do you see how these signs were helping me keep the faith so strong? And they're meant to be shared, especially so with you. But did you know that Brother Joshua's testimony made mainstream news? God's plan. A lot of people don't know about the rapture, but they did after the 23rd, 24th. So was this all God's master plan to get more of us on board? Because it's the only thing that really, really makes sense to me. I always keep an open mind, but it really makes sense that God would do that to give us one more chance to get on the ark. Now, this is a really important aspect of it. The aspect of delay, When Noah went on the ark, the flood didn't come for 7 days. It was delayed, but the door was shut. Before the Red Sea moment, the parting of the Red Sea, it was 7 days for them to travel to get there, okay? And by the way, I meant to say, remember last year, this is another thing, I said in 2025, I really feel so strongly that the Red Sea moment is going to happen. Not knowing it was exactly this, our spiritual exodus, which Archangel Michael told me about in 2001. I just remind from the last video, or from the Ark video. In 2001, he called it a spiritual exodus, which Brother Joshua calls it an exodus, okay? And in 2001, I just beginning to channel him. I didn't know what that meant exactly, okay? But here we are. So all these things leading to this, not to all fall apart, you guys. This is all gonna happen. With all my heart and soul, I'm calling out, asking to just hold faith, okay? And on that same day, 2 other people with bigger, much bigger audiences said the same thing, that in 2025, our Red Sea moment. Okay, I'm sorry, I've forgotten to say that about Red Sea. And then the other message about delay, it's in the Bible, the parable of the 10 virgins. When the bridegroom arrives unexpectedly, okay, he was delayed and arrives unexpectedly. 5 of the virgins were prepared and waited. The other 5 didn't. And a lot of people are quoting this parable, connecting it to what is going on, that God delayed this. Honest to God, I'm not reaching, you know me, I'm a lover of truth. I'm a lover of truth. I am always just seeking the truth. And I mean, only God knows, only God can tell us, and one day we'll know. But everything is pointing to that. There's even a theory, and I hesitated mentioning this because I don't want to say dates again. I mean, I did mention 7 days. I mean, that could be a high watch. They're saying that October 6th and 7th, or some say 7th and 8th, high watch. So you guys, let's just, I just hope that people just generally keep seeking, keep looking up, waiting, okay? The actual date, we may be totally like the bridegroom, shows up unexpectedly, okay? But instead of explaining it, I'm just going to show these comments that explain it really well about the calendars and why it's still the Feast of Trumpets, but they're different dates. Here we go. You know, they laughed at Noah and then the door closed. And history repeats itself. So may as many of us as possible choose God, connect with God now, and get on the ark. Of all that happened, these signs with our being saved, since 2001. In January of 2001, I ran out of gas driving through New Mexico on the busiest expressway interchange called the Big I, as in Eye of God. I just made it to safety. A big truck with an image of Christ on the cross goes by. I mean, never seen anything like that, only time ever. And then just then, there's a chihuahua running that same path, and I go out and save it. And I have so many signs that I won't get into them all, but this one I didn't talk about as much. And I just want to remind you that when I was under the expressway interchange, many, many years later, right when I was under, on the radio, it was like an ad or something, or a DJ, whatever. He said, "Amazing grace, amazing grace, amazing grace," 7 times, I think. I was quite sure it was 7 times. Right then. And remember the book that I bought that morning, Saving Graces. That night I learned in that first chapter it was about 4 women who save a dog. I mean, how profound is that, right? And saving grace. I mean, this is our saving grace, you guys. We're being rescued. And then all the Titanic signs, the Molly Brown signs that will be unsinkable like her. And I mean, I've had so many signs, but I'm just reminding you that this has been this long past since 2001, and until I was saved by 5 lifeguards after feeling Christ's presence and asking to be rebaptized. And I was so blissed out, I ended up getting caught in a riptide, and 5 lifeguards saved me.